Welcome to the Beauty in Battle podcast, where we talk about winning in marriage by waging a war. I'm Jason Benham. I've got my girlfriend / wife, Tori Benham, with me, and we are here to talk to you about how Satan tries to get you to fight face to face with your spouse, but God designed you to fight shoulder to shoulder against Satan so that you can win in your marriage. Fighting together draws you together. We cannot wait to jump in. So here we go. Okay, so today we're talking about the gift of giving. This is going to be a fun one because when you first fall in love, the feeling of love precedes giving love. You know, like, I mean, I really felt something for you back when we were dating.
Yeah.
Even before we started dating, I felt something. So I started giving you some of my time.
You're talking about your past or present? Like, I really felt something for you years ago.
No longer. But you know, like that's what typically happens before you fall in love. Like you start feeling something and then you start spending time together, and the next thing you know, you're feeling more, and then you spend more time together, and it's kind of cyclical. Mm-hmm. But in marriage, it's reversed. You've got to give love before you start feeling it. Right?
Yeah.
So you give, and then you feel it. So the key today is the gift of giving. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you can give to your spouse. But before we get there, I have a song for you.
This is a surprise for me. I'm excited to hear it.
Surprise for Tor, but she knows how much of a sucker I am for this guy. He, for his music, I should say. I'm not a sucker for him, sucker for Tor. And I went to his concert when I was a sophomore in high school.
Really?
Oh, this goes way back.
Okay.
And if you know me or David, you know that we're huge Kenny G fans.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Kenny G. This is his song, Forever in Love. Check this out. So relaxing.
It is so relaxing.
All of my kids love Kenny G now. Wait for it. Wait for it. See, you want to take a nap right now, don't you? Oh, come on.
So good.
Okay.
Jason has always been a huge Kenny G fan, and our kid, it's so funny. A lot of times at night, I'll go in to see, check on the kids, and they're playing Kenny G. They've fallen asleep to Kenny G.
Kenny G.
You've passed it down.
I have. Kenny G is awesome. So go get his greatest hits, and there's a song in there. My favorite song is The Moment, and just listen to Kenny G, The Moment. If you're traveling in your car right now, press pause on this podcast. Go to Apple or Spotify or whatever and go to Kenny G, The Moment, and just thank me later. Okay? So there you go. There's our song.
Good job, babe.
Thank you. Okay, so here's the key. You're going to love whatever you give to. So we in marriage, we have to give if we want to experience love. You know the rule of thumb, like if you want good friends,
you have to be a good friend.
You have to be a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to give of yourself and be something to a person and bring value to that person. Mm-hmm. Then what happens? Then it's reciprocated.
Yeah. And
the same is true in marriage, that, if that feeling isn't there that you really want, and you don't have to sit back and just say, well, we're married, that feeling's supposed to go away.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. No, that's bull. Don't believe that. So start by not believing that. And second, start giving to your spouse.
Yeah. That's so good. And I love that quote. You always say that leadership is the ability to create an appetite in somebody. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're talking about here. That's leadership. Like when you want someone to be kind and generous and loving to you, will create that appetite in them by being
doing
that.
It. Oh, I love that. Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, if you focus on meeting the needs of your spouse, then guess what's going to happen? All your needs are going to get met.
Right.
Right? And so here's the thing. Your spouse needs you. The undistracted you. Your spouse needs you. Just think about that. Your spouse needs you. Right? And because of that, Satan's going to come along, and what's he going to try to do? He's going to try to pull you away from your spouse. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking I'm not talking affairs. I'm just talking about being
emotional
distracted.
Detachment.
Yeah. Detached because of distraction.
Right.
That's where it starts. It's distraction. If you've read our book or you've taken our course or you've been to any of our marriage seminars, we talk about Satan's 3 plan three-step plan of attack. He distracts, he deceives, and he divides. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, he wants division. He wants you to be divided from God, and he wants you to be divided from your spouse. Well, to get there, he's got to deceive you. He's got to lie to you. And behind every temptation is a lie, right? Well, before he deceives you, he's first got to distract you. Distraction is it's so important that you can spot a distraction.
Right.
And we see distraction addiction is a real thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I hate that, but it is. So let me ask you this. Why does giving work? Just think about why is it that God created love to operate on giving, on, a selfless desire to give of yourself? Because our greatest need is love. Like God put our greatest need inside of us is love, to love and be loved. And the foundation for that is giving.
Yeah. For God so loved the world, he gave his only son.
That's exactly where I was going. That's perfect. God loved the world and he gave.
Right.
So what should that then inspire us to do? Give ourselves to him. Why? Because he gave first. Mm-hmm. So God is telling us as spouses, like, you give first to your spouse. Okay. And watch what happens in return. So giving to each other like that creates a core connection. So you have to know what your spouse wants in order for you, for them to get what they want or need.
Right.
So I just wrote down 3 quick things, and I want to park on the last thing, but here's 3 quick things that we can give to our spouse. First, give time. Like, you need to spend time together. Like, figure out ways that you can spend time together. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Just do stuff together. Tori and I have discovered that I can easily find stuff to do when she has to go to the grocery store, or I can kind of put some of that on pause if Lundy's taken care of or whatever. I can put some of that on pause and just jump in the car and go with her. Mm-hmm. And every single time I do that, it's not like I'm dying to go grocery shopping, but we walk in there together. We're talking.
Mm-hmm. The car ride over, we're catching up on some things. Yeah. The car ride home, we're catching up. Yeah. And then you jump in and help.
Yeah. You spend time together. And I mean, we all know the story of, people who've ended up having affairs. And the reason why is because they spent too much time together. Mm-hmm. They spent too much time together. Next thing you know, they're not operating transactionally anymore. They're talking emotionally and they're connecting. Yep. So, let's just do that with our spouse. Let's spend as much time as we can together. When you spend time, what are you supposed to be doing? Talking and listening. Mm-hmm. So when you spend time, talk and listen. And it doesn't always have to be that. Tori and I are definitely into some episodes we're watching, or some series. We're into Hijack right now. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
It's clean. It's got some bad language, but I like Hijack. So you pick some shows, talk and listen. And then another thing about time is help each other with tasks. Just pick out some tasks that you're always going to do together. So Tori and I decided that we're going to do dish tasks. So if it comes to loading the dishwasher or emptying the dishwasher, so long as we're both there, let's just do it together. Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about that is that's kind of how we fell in love.
Yeah, that's true.
Jason was doing dishes, or helping me with dishes at my house in Connecticut. And so we always have kind of like laughed about that. Like we fell in love around the kitchen sink. Yeah. So we find ourselves at the kitchen sink.
I knew how to move in for the kill. I knew exactly what I was doing. Mm-hmm. It is funny. That's one of the first things that attracted me to Tori, obviously, other than the just outward stuff. But we'd have dinner over at their house, and she had 2 younger brothers, and she was doing one of 2 things after dinner. She was cleaning up with nobody asking, and doing dishes, or she was taking her little brothers out and playing with them. So, I could talk with her dad and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, dang.
You appreciated those things. Yeah. And that appreciation for me in those areas drew you to me.
Yeah.
Because appreciation is the bonding chemical.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. We forgot. We got to pick every single podcast and say that.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Okay. So giving time, 2, give gifts. I mean, gifts is important, but you might not be a gift person, but the reason why I mention that is, the more of you can give with your gift, the more it's going to mean to your spouse. Like if you just buy them a shirt, okay, no big deal. But if you bought a shirt, but you had something engraved on, I don't know, buy something a coffee thoughtful. Cup. Yeah, something thoughtful. And I love this one marriage guy's name is Mort Fertel. And I listened to a lot of his stuff. And he talked about this, the power of giving gifts, and how, your spouse isn't going to receive it as a true gift unless there's a lot of thought behind it and there's you in it.
Right.
And it made me think about what romance is. You know what romance is, Tor?
I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Busted. No, romance, when you really boil it down, it's doing something unexpected that you know your spouse would want. That's romantic.
Wow.
So it's not just candlelight.
Yeah.
It's not just the dinner. It's not just being intimate physically or anything like that. It's figuring out what you know your spouse would want or
That's
like.
so true.
And surprising them with it.
That's so true.
That's romantic.
This just reminded me of something that happened just last week. I had conversation with Jason over the past couple months, just how much it would be helpful if we're on the same page with our youngest, Lundy. As you guys, some of you know, Lundy has put us through some traumatic experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And last year she was in that boating accident, and it was like this time last year, it was just months of recovery.
Awful.
It was a lot. And she slept in our bed for like 6 months because we had to keep her upright because big ordeal. Anyways, so I'm, kind of a little bit protective of her physically. Like I'm just worried about her a lot. And I think I'm kind of overcoming some of that trauma. And so I just kind of asked Jason, I'm like, I just need you to be on the same page with me, with Lundy. Like I can't bear the full burden of always worrying about her and making sure she's okay. I just want you to kind of help me with that. Like if we're doing something, if I knew it was on your radar, Lundy's safety and where she is and what she's doing, and it would just help. Yeah. I was just struggling a little bit with that.
And I'm a typical dad. I'm like, she's fine.
Yeah. Well,
she's over at David's house.
I think that that I'm so on top of Lundy that you don't feel that sense of responsibility to like have to think for her.
Tori and I are working our problems out right here on the podcast.
So anyways, we talked about that a couple months ago, and you started taking steps to being helpful in that. And then I went to Florida to get Lundy, or Allie moved in, and you stepped in and took care of Lundy really, really well. Like I felt so confident. You knew that it was really important to me that Lundy was really safe and protected and taken care of. And you did such a great job with it.
I also love her.
Yeah, you do. But I think that it was just an opportunity for you to show me like you really care about Lundy and you're going to take really good care of her. Took really good care of her. You kept me posted the whole time. Lundy's here. Lundy's doing this. I'm taking her here. We're doing that, and it just made me feel like so heard that you wanted me to know that you've got this and you can handle this. And then I came home and you continued it. Like usually I'm the one like making sure Lundy's all settled in, and you kind of continued because you had done it for 5 days.
I needed you to leave and put me in charge.
Yeah.
So that I could figure it out.
So you did something that I really wanted you to do and something that was really important to me. And I remember I was like, babe, you've never been so attractive in all of my life. Like this means so much to me that you would care about something that matters to me and you'd step up and you do it. And it meant so much to me, and it really was romantic. Like it was more romantic than a dinner. It was just you stepping into and do exactly what you're saying is romance, doing something that somebody would really appreciate. Yeah. That your spouse would really appreciate.
And doing it unexpectedly. Like, and not making the announcement like, guys, you unloaded the dishwasher. Let her just come home and discover it on her own, even if it's the next day. Don't like text and say, "Hey, I unloaded the dishwasher." Right. Then it's not unexpected.
Right.
She's expecting. It's like, okay. So then it moves to, it's very kind of you, but it's not romantic.
Right.
Romance is when you just do it unexpected and then let it play itself out. So that's the giving of gifts. But the best thing that you can give, and I want to park on this for a second before we close, is to give presents. In terms of your undivided attention.
Yeah.
The real present that you can give to your spouse is your presence.
Yeah.
And obviously, here we go. Like we always say, the way to get your spouse's presence is through gratitude.
Yeah.
Psalm 100, enter his gates with thanksgiving. So we're not going to park on gratitude, but we do want to park on presence because Satan does seek to distract, deceive, and divide. And he wants to distract you from what's the most important, and he's going to deceive you and then divide you away from your spouse and and God. And that is a dangerous place to be. So let's talk about presence for a second and how powerful it is, because Jesus on the cross, he refused. Remember that they dipped the sponge into wine and some other stuff or whatever. And what that really is, as I researched that was kind of like a little bit of a narcotic, kind of could be a little bit of a morphine that could numb the pain. But if you numb the pain, you also remove your ability to be fully present.
Wow.
I discovered this when my mom refused morphine in the last few days of her life because she wanted to be fully present with her family.
Yep.
And that was a gift that she gave to us. We could see her open her eyes and look at all of us in the room. She couldn't talk, but we knew she was there with us. And that was a gift. And so Jesus did the exact same thing. He refused the narcotics, the morphine, because he wanted to be fully present. And that was a gift.
Yeah.
And the greatest gift that you can give to your spouse is your presence. But in reality, it's not always so easy to be fully present with your spouse.
It's so true. And I think that, there are some ways, some self-awareness that we really need to bring to our relationship to bring to light why we would not want to be present with our spouse, or how our presence sometimes can be overwhelming to our spouse. And so I've been learning a lot. I talked about this in some podcasts past, that in Enneagram world, they talk about how there are 3 ways that we get our needs met.
Yeah.
And for every Enneagram type, you have a different way of getting your need met.
Yeah.
And there's 3 different ways. Number 1 will move over people. This is like the bulldozer.
Oh yeah.
Right. They have a need and so they kind of are overwhelming with their presence, right? Like they become big and energetic, and it can feel very overwhelming sometimes to people, right? If when they are moving over to get, they know what they need and they're going to get it done, right?
Yep.
And then you've got the people, the second stance is where you move toward in a helpful way, which is probably the healthiest way, is to move toward people. You don't want to move away from people in a helpful way, to where you're actually thinking about them and how you can be helpful. Now, of course, you have to be careful of manipulation, that you're not just doing it to get a need met, but you're doing it out of love, right?
Yeah, what you need is approval. And therefore what you're going to do is you're going to make a dinner for your friend. Right.
Yeah. And
because in reality, you really want their approval.
Yeah. And you need a lot of that. And so you're moving toward them, but in an unhealthy, codependent way. Right.
Yeah, that could be exhausting for your friend.
So you got to be aware of that. But at the same time, when you're doing it out of love and you're moving towards people in love, that's a very healthy way of getting of meeting needs and getting needs met. And then there's the move away. And this is when you withdraw because you're overwhelmed by their presence and you need space, and you honestly don't know how to handle it. And I've been learning a lot about this attachment theory. Have you heard of it? Yeah, I think I've talked to you about it a little bit, but there's this attachment theory in psychology, and it's just kind of understanding that the ways that you coped as a kid to get your needs met, you're probably bringing that into your adult life because it was a learned coping strategy.
Yeah.
And sometimes these learned coping strategies as a kid, they really actually worked well for you. Like they were helpful for you getting through some tough things and learning coping skills.
Yeah.
But if we're not careful, those automatic habitual responses to relationships don't serve our relationships best. And we have to transform that way of thinking so that it best serves your relationship. And so it's just so important to ask the question, what do I want?
Yeah, that's good.
And so, you have to have vision for your relationship and what you want. And you want a relationship where there's presence and that you can be at one with each other, and you can spend time together, and it's not in an overwhelming way, but there's a give and there's take and there's listening and there's talking, right? Like there's this unity that comes through presence. But if you grew up in an environment where you felt overtaken, there was a very dominant, personality that was always getting what they want. And so you had to get small because they always got big, right? Then you might find yourself withdrawing from the people that you love's presence. And that's where you ask the question, well, what do I want? I want their presence. So why am I shrinking? Why am I moving away from this? Isn't getting me what I want. So I think just bringing a little bit of self-awareness into the relationship and saying, okay, what do I want? And what are the ways that I am moving towards the people that I love and not shrinking back? And then also if in learning the different attachments, there's 4 different attachments. There's the secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when you have inherent trust that I'm going to get my needs met, even if it's not perfect.
Okay.
And this is kind of where we want to get to, that I don't need you to love me in this
perfectly
in this box that I've created, right? No, you love me the way you love me, and I'm going to receive it as love, even though it's not exactly perfect. Like it's not exactly the way I would tell you to love me, but I receive the way you love.
Yeah.
And so
you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I know you're trying.
Exactly. And you're receiving love. Yeah. You're not pushing away love. You're saying, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, but that makes you're loving me, and I receive that love, and I feel secure in that.
That's what we do with our kids, right? They're going to, as little kindergartners, they're going to draw you a little picture, and it's going to look awful.
Right.
But their heart was to say, I love you.
Exactly.
And here's a picture that looks terrible, and now you put it on your refrigerator. Well, why can't we treat our spouse like that?
But when you're distracted and they come and bring you that, you may just ignore it. But when you're fully present, you're like, oh my word, this is so sweet. Thank you for, and that's so that's that secure attachment. That's where we all want to get to in our relationships, is that we can be secure in our attachment. And then and then the second one is anxious. And this is where you have a lot of energy around attachment, to where you're afraid that of abandonment. You're afraid that the way that your spouse withdraws is going to lead to abandonment, like maybe you experienced as a kid, and you anxiously, this is the people who move over and bulldoze because they anxiously are trying to get a need met. Okay. And then you've got the avoidant and the fearful. Avoidant are the two other, and it's very self-explanatory. It's when you're moving away, you're afraid of the energy that's you almost feel attacked by the energy, and you move away.
And I think that a lot of husbands are in the move away category, that when they really need their needs met, they're going to move away and go into the cave. Mm-hmm. They're going to pull away. And so wives, if you feel or sense your husband kind of pulling away, go get him.
Yeah.
Pull him out.
Yeah.
You can pull him out. And I'm telling you, pull him out. Say something nice to him. Mm-hmm. Compliment him. Make yourself available physically to him.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm telling you, in intercourse, a man releases dopamine and oxytocin, like it's released into his body at a greater level than at any other time. Mm-hmm. And do you want to help heal him? You want to help him feel better? Mm-hmm. Then do that,
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with, when you are in that avoidant place, you're overwhelmed by emotion. You're overwhelmed. Yeah. Your body is overwhelmed, and you need to come down. You feel like you feel it in your body. And I think that's why, it's for you to come together as one with intimacy. That is a way of coming down, a way of relaxing, a way of settling in your soul. And so that's why it's so helpful.
Yeah. And then right afterwards, talk with him. Mm-hmm. Literally, he'll talk to you. I promise you, he'll talk to you right afterwards. And then just talk and try to get into his world.
Yeah.
So go get him.
But a lot of times I think when, as you're talking about presence, a lot of times we've got this distancer pursuer thing happening. Yeah. One wants the presence and the other one is feeling overwhelmed. And so we have to come to a place where you're self-aware of what's happening inside of you, so that you can ask the question, well, is this actually getting me what I want?
That's good. Yeah. I think that's probably the best thing Tori's talked about in the last year on our podcast that's helped the most people, is just thinking about, what do you really want? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, he's wrong and I'm not going to talk to him for this, or she said this and I'm not going to deal with that, or whatever. It's like, okay, well, what do you really want? Mm-hmm. Do you want this space in between both of you right now?
Right.
But do you want to just be right, or do you want a relationship?
Or does this just help you feel safe in the moment, but it's actually creating a great
destructive
wedge?
Yeah, you don't want that. So we're talking about the gift of giving. Okay. So precede the giving before the feeling. Okay. Don't worry about what you feel. Just give. Give time. Give gifts. Remember romance. Do something unexpected they want. And ultimately give presents. And when you do that, you're going to find that your love is going to blossom.
Yeah. So good.
So that's it. Tori, you got a recipe?
I do. So we talked about last week how Jason and I were really looking for some salmon recipes because we were just learning about just the health benefits of salmon, wild caught, with the skin on, all those omega-3s. And so anyways, I found this, I actually researched a gazillion recipes and kind of threw one together, and it turned out so good. So we made not tuna bowls. We didn't make tuna bowls this week, but we made salmon bowls.
Yes.
And so I'll share with you guys on Jason and Tori how we did it. It turned out really, really good. We loved it. It was delicious. It felt like it was super healthy.
Incredible.
And I actually did it in my air fryer. I feel like salmon in the air fryer is the way to go. I just feel like it's so much better.
Very good.
I always dry out my salmon if I cook it in the oven. And then too, it just smells up the whole house. For some reason in the air fryer, it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So anyways,
that's true. That's a good
I'll
point.
share it with you guys, and super easy. Like you just marinate it for a couple hours and dice it up, and then layer the veggies and
slice and dice. Hey, and if you ever want to experience that firsthand from Tori, then come check us out at one of our marriage intensives. Okay. Go on our website. You can check it out. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. The gift of giving. Give to your spouse. And if you haven't taken our 5-day challenge, take it. If you already have, then share it with somebody else. How about that?
I like it.
All
right.
Hey, we probably will not see you guys next week. We are going to be in the Keys.
That's right.
Tori's going to be begging God that we do not meet the megalodon. So
what is that?
But that's the ginormous shark.
Ooh.
Yeah, the great white, whatever. I don't know.
Well, I'm told that it's the bull sharks are the attackers, and then there's a lot of nice sharks.
They're all nice.
What the heck? It's like saying there's nice snakes.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, we don't do snakes. All right, we'll see you guys soon.
See you guys.